Good evening, class. But tomorrow you'll be seeing this video early in the morning. So it will be morning. So it's both evening and morning. So welcome to this first class for Mobile Computing 2. Mobile Computing 2. And welcome to the class, as I said. And once again, sorry for the late how things have been going through this semester. I know I'm a second lecturer this semester, but we shall be able to get in touch and be able to go through all the things that need to be gone through. This is my first class as your lecturer for Mobile Computing 2. I know in the other previous class you had started with Bonasige, but I believe with those aspects, some things will have to change somehow, somewhere. Now, apart from that, there is an aspect which I wanted us, with this unit, there are a lot of things which shall change. The first thing for this unit, you students should be aware of is that this unit is supposed to be purely practical. And in Mobile Computing 2, there's nothing more in Mobile Computing 1, like the basics of mobile computing, the communication hierarchy, the physical aspect of mobile communication that we need to go through. The only thing that we need to be going through is through the mobile development, mobile application development. That is what we need to be going through. And thus this unit, I believe 3/4 of this unit shall be based on mobile application development. Even the exams which you shall be doing online, because I'm the one who will be doing it, it shall be based on mobile application development. Meaning thereby that it is a must for you students. I don't know if you have a very steady internet at home or even using laptops or mobile phones, but at least try and get this Android Studio. Because the notes that I shall be sharing with you, all of that is based on Android Studio. It's based on Android Studio. All the application, all the codes that I'll be sharing, all of them are written using Android Studio. So just Google Android Studio and you'll be able to find where to download that Android Studio, and you'll be able to get that thing which not get that thing, but you'll be able to go quite well with this aspect. Now, one thing, as I said, that's one thing I wanted to actually to actually talk about the Android Studio. So that is one thing which you shall be looking at, and thus it is really important that we are able to handle this aspect in that kind of a manner. Now, with that said and done, I have uploaded the notes, the topic 1 and topic 2 notes. Basically, today I shall be introducing. Now we are starting from scratch, using the concept of mobile application development. That is what Mobile Computing 2 is all about. Here, when I'm talking about introduction, I will have to talk about the importance of mobile application development. First of all, you need to know what is mobile application development, and its importance. Secondly, we need to know the mobile application development process. Thirdly, we shall have to talk about mobile application development concept. So we shall have to recap OOP concepts. Object-oriented programming concepts. We are recapping all these OOP concepts because all applications developed for mobile phone use, they are all based on object-oriented languages, meaning that the platform behind all of it is the OOP language. Hence, you, my students, you have to recap things like what is a class, what is an, it's simple, just simple things which we need to recap, and we shall brush them through because I believe you have ideas of what they are. After recapping those aspects of OP, you shall have to look at the mobile application architecture. And then lastly, we shall have to look at guidelines to be followed while developing. Android apps. That's what we shall be highly interested in when you're looking at mobile application development. So I believe this is really important so that you'll be able to know what it is that mobile application development is. So I would like us to start off, and first thing I would like to know, what is mobile application development, mobile application development process, and all of that. So there's something which I'll share here with you. It's basically a presentation of these aspects which I wanted to talk about today. Now, mobile application development, importance of mobile application development. First of all, you should ask yourself, what is mobile application development? And I believe mobile application development is purely a science of developing applications that can run on pervasive architectures. That is what mobile application development is. Science of developing applications to run on pervasive architectures. When I mean by pervasive architectures, I mean architectures that are small but contain high processing powers. That's what our smart mobile phones are. For example, this smart mobile phone, it's a Huawei, it's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 430. If you look at Qualcomm, I believe that is around 8 processors or 4 processors. When you look at that aspect of how many processors are inside your mobile phone. So as you can see, that is taking the processing capability of a laptop and placing it in a small limited device, hardware device. So we had to come up with an aspect of how can we be able to develop applications that can be able to run on these architectures, on these platforms, on these hardwares, and also be able to use the mobile networks that we are using. And that's why when you're looking at mobile computing, you learn mobile computing 1, which is basically the communication and the hardware involved in mobile communication. And then mobile 2, you learn the mobile application development. That is how it is supposed to be structured. Now, what is the importance of mobile application? The importance of mobile application. So one of the importance is that, let me try and move this thing. Okay. Okay, I've gone a bit further. Now, nowadays, there's a demand for mobile application development, and it provides best features that are important for business, which helps in attracting customers. Now, that is the main thing why mobile application has been on the rise of late. A lot of businesses are using mobile application apps, mobile applications to do their businesses, to interact with customers, to sell their commodities online, Jumia or OLX, a lot of these things. Okay, that's why there is that increased demand for having mobile application, mobile application development. And today, mobile has deeply ingrained in business operations, meaning that every business that we have today, there must have a mobile application integrated in it, be it a normal IDE or be it even with a USSD feature. Like for example, Madaraka Express USSD feature. If you look at what else, like Safaricom, they had USSD features. Then they came and realized, why don't we develop our own Safaricom app, which you need when you need to use it, you need to use it using your Safaricom network. Those are some of the aspects which have really led to the growth of mobile application development, and that is businesses. Businesses have led to the growth of mobile application development. Almost every business now is running toward that platform. And right now, with this aspect of COVID-19, COVID-19 has really led to some people to really rethink their strategies. A good example is like, for example, Lipa and M-Pesa. Most businesses before COVID-19 never saw the need for having a till number or even a pay bill number. Then they come COVID-19, wow, it sees that you can be able to contract corona even through passing of notes. Now what are most businesses doing? They're running towards Lipa and M-Pesa and till numbers and pay bills. So as you can see, even pandemics have really shifted the way people have been able to view mobile application development, because most people saw mobile apps as an avenue, as a mobile wallet, as a tool for transferring money. But nowadays, people are even seeing it as a means of communication. Businesses, like for example, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, although we even have applications which can be accessed on the normal laptop or on the normal desktop, but you even have mobile apps, and most people are using mobile applications. Now, what are the advantages of having mobile applications in businesses? It enhances a better collaboration and streaming of workflow. It provides better platform for their marketing, that's true. And with mobile applications, you can meet various requirements of businesses. That's one thing you have to understand with mobile apps. It is unlimited. You have unlimited capability with mobile application, be it if you want to transfer money, if you want to receive money, if you want to take a loan. That's how mobile apps have evolved. Brings an easy interaction of communication channels in several forms here: WhatsApp, Baidu, Snapchat, Instagram. The popularity of these applications is on the rise, which encourages the developers with many more ideas. True. That's why that's the importance of mobile application development. Right now, people have developed an app. If you put it on, it will be able, if you come in contact with a person who has tested positive COVID-19, it will be able to alert you. If you put your Bluetooth on, you have your network on, it will be able to alert you, hey, but yeah, this guy has COVID-19, kindly beware of. So you see, that's where apps have taken, that's where mobile application is on the rise. And people are saying in the not so distant future, in 2020, by 2030, I believe most things shall be done through our mobile phones. Like right now, even you guys, some of you are home, you're accessing the e-learning platform through a mobile phone. That is how you're able to access it. So as you can see, with mobile application development, there are those things which you can be able to view and see that, by the way, it has integrated with every aspect of the society. Even the mama mboga huko chini, unamlipa na M-Pesa, nasema hataki corona, usimpe mashilingi, usimpe do. Hiyo ni, that is what it brings. Businesses can grow its infrastructure by providing better service to their customer. The ability of mobile application has increased with new technologies. That is very true. Okay, you can grow infrastructure because with mobile application development, with mobile apps, it means that you need to have the best infrastructure with which to have efficiency to cater for the growing demand needs of your consumers. Now, as per Gartner's research, more than 20% of employees will use tablets instead of laptops in later years. Gartner is a research. It's usually a research. It's like Sinovate. It usually does polls, and with this, it's able to show that 20% of employees will use tablets instead of laptops in the later years. That's what I'm saying. Pervasive computing, whereby the size of the device is growing smaller and smaller by the year. Very soon we shall have virtual reality, where people will not even be using tablets anymore. In the not so distant future. In the early 1990s, people used to have desktops. I would like you to see that change, that the way pervasive computing has started gradually. Even before, let's leave alone the earlier generations of computers. Let's talk about the fourth generation, whereby we had personal computers. Personal computers were the preview of businesses. They were the preview of academic institutions which could afford to buy computers so that students could be able to study computers. Like for me, the first time I ever came into contact with a computer was in standard 4. In standard 4, I believe. Yeah, standard 4. It was in standard 4, and yeah, that's the first time I ever came into contact with a computer. And that time you're using Windows NT, Windows 95, I believe. That's the first time I ever saw a computer, and it was a PC. It was a big, it was a normal computer, desktop computer, CRT. The monitors were big, and then somebody came and realized, maybe we can reduce the size of the monitors. Then came in the TFTs, the LCDs, blah blah blah. Then people came and said, why I need to move around with my what? With my computer. Then came up what? Palm tops. And then people came and said, we need machines that can have the same processing capabilities as a normal desktop. Came up laptops. Then people came and said that laptops are too big. Came up notebooks and ProBooks. As you can see, the way ProBooks and ProBooks and notebooks, they've usually gone smaller and smaller in size of the architecture of the laptop. And then people came and said, tablet. You have tablets. Yeah? We had smartphones, and then people came and said, okay, we have smartphones. Now, why can't we have tablets whereby if you're going for a presentation, there's no need of you carrying a laptop to that presentation. You just put the tablet in your coat and you go to that presentation and you go and present. Now, you see, that is an aspect of pervasive computing, fitting high processing capabilities into a limited device with hardware and all of that. So that is as per Gartner's. It's rarely said that the devices are zero without applications. True. That's the importance of mobile application is steadily increasing day by day. True. If you have your mobile, you have this device with you. Without the call functionality, without the message functionality, because for me, I believe that the important aspect of any mobile device is that you can be able to call, you can be able to send and receive texts, you can be able to send and receive money. Nowadays, it's really important. If you're going to buy a phone and that phone does not have the capability to instill a SIM toolkit for M-Pesa or Airtel, then there's no need of buying that phone. And then nowadays, another important feature is that when you buy a phone, the first thing I know most of you, because they are the most basic features of mobile phone, which they are the call, the message, the SIM toolkit for M-Pesa and the Airtel money, they're always there. Now, when you buy your phone, I would like you to tell me, and I know this is the truth, even it's up to me. Even to me, it is the truth that when I buy that mobile phone, the first apps I will always install is WhatsApp. App ya kwanza. Hata hizi zingine sijui nini. That's the first app most people will install. WhatsApp, Facebook. Or if you have Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and then Gmail. Hata Gmail inaingianga mwisho, but if your person who is working, Gmail, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, like that. So that is how, day by day. Nowadays, even we have applications that enable a person to scan a document and convert that document into PDF. That is it. No need for you to go to the cyber and then the cyber person asks 10 bob or 20 bob to scan a document for you. You just go download a scanning app, a very good scanning app. For example, CamScanner. CamScanner is a very good scanning app. It scans you just hold your phone steadily, it scans the image and then it sends it. So that's what it needs. Now, these applications provide complete access to advanced features like address book, multi-touch interface, and other business applications. True. With the expansion of use of mobile application, the promotion of one products and services has become much more easier. That's another important. People are basically advertising their products on mobile application platforms. Like for example, let's take for example, like right now, WhatsApp. Most people have this, have devised ingenious ways of marketing their shoes. Maybe they're selling shoes, maybe they're selling clothes. What do? They just update them on their status, the status which usually disappears after 24 hours. So WhatsApp, it means that people in WhatsApp sat down and realized, okay, we need, instead of having a one single status which you can update, some people even take, before they came up with this revolving status of 24 hours, there used to be this status which you just used to type in whatever it is that you wanted to type, and then you go on with your life. You forgot about it. Even some people would go there and say they're in the gym. 2-3 years down the line, your WhatsApp status is still saying in the gym. What kind of status is that? So people came and decided, the WhatsApp developers came and said, okay, why don't you make this thing interesting? Why let's have a revolving what? Status. And this status disappears after 24 hours. So you see now, it brought about, they came about with this thing because with that status, it means that you could post every now and then within the day. But then business people came and saw an idea. These guys have given us a platform to update our statuses online. Instead of me writing meaningless quotes and things there, why don't I post all my products? And that's how it evolved. And now people are able to buy and sell online. That's what we have today. Now, 5 main reasons why mobile apps are important today. Ubiquity of smartphones, mindfulness of possibilities, proximity to customers, and matched user experience, and better visibility. So what is ubiquity? Ubiquitous, ubiquity. Now, found everywhere. Ubiquity comes from the word ubiquitous, which means the ability of being found everywhere. Because they are smartphones, they are found everywhere, mobile phones. Actually, you will go to some homestead and you'll find people have mobile phones instead of laptops, instead of TVs. Manifoldness of possibilities. Manifoldness of possibilities means that with your mobile phone, you have unlimited possibilities. You feel you can take over the world. You can chat, you can sell, you can buy. You see now, with a mobile phone, it is very big. It has a lot of possibilities. You can chat, you can call, you can transact online. You can connect to your bank account or your M-Pesa account. You can do business online. You can receive money. You can even have your own application to learn. Proximity to customers. That's the thing with mobile phones. Nowadays, for example, if you're going to buy things like, for example, Jumia, the way it works, you order online, you order through your mobile phone. Nowadays, they have the app, and I think with the app, they have been able to access more people than when that application used to access it online. Nowadays, you can find it on the app, and it's quite, it is actually linked to your mobile phone and M-Pesa and everything. It's quite easy to transact and do everything. So with that, it has brought Jumia closer to the people, proximity to customers. It has brought suppliers and business people closer to the customer. Like even today, we are discussing with my wife. Today's Jumia free day. There are some few things I was supposed to look online, and I'm going to look online after this talk. Unmatched user experience. Yeah, there's unmatched user experience. There are so many things you can do with your mobile phone. Actually, I usually tell students that with this mobile phone, like for me, I bought this mobile phone in 2018, and I believe up to now, I can even go and see some new features in this mobile phone I didn't know even existed, meaning that I think I've been able to use around 20% of the capabilities of this mobile phone. 20%. I've not yet used it as per se. Better visibility. Okay, with better visibility, it means that it's clarity, it's clear what you can be able to do with your mobile phone. So there's that aspect of better visibility. So with greater visibility comes with clarity, as I said. And with businesses, it means that it opens up your business to people whom you didn't know. It breaks what we call the geographical divide. mobile phone. Mobile revolution continues to evolve at every rapid pace for over the next four years. That is true. That is true. You can check this out. You can check that out, and you'll be able to see that what I'm saying is true. If you check that out, you'll see that it's true. Mobile application development boosts business activities through these aspects. Now, when you're looking at mobile application, these are the core aspects which you shall have to look at when you're looking at mobile application development. The first one is security. How secure are your apps? The second one is usability. How usable are your apps? Thirdly is the function. What does your mobile application do? And third and lastly is the design. How do you design that mobile application? These are the four most important aspects. Even when you're looking at design considerations, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Now, you can contact the people. That is the dot in. And that is why mobile applications are really important. So, as you can see, with this aspect, by this presentation, you can find it on this on this platform. I think I'll share that link with you people. I'll share the link with you people very soon, so that you can be able to see and understand why that mobile application is really important. So that's why it's really important. That's why it's really important to have that mobile application development. I'll share that link with you people. Share that link for that presentation which I just had. I got it online. Now you see it's really important to be able to get this information. So that is for the first slides. You can find that information there. So actually for the first one, you have talked about what is mobile application development and its importance. And you have seen that mobile application is highly important in the business world, but we are not per se saying it's only the business world. We have also seen in the academic world, it's really important. In health, actually in health, nowadays, people, it's virtually whereby we have even MDAWA. We have MDAWA, we have MTIBA. Insurance companies are using mobile applications to check on the insurance cover, NHIF, all that, paying electricity bills, checking your electricity meter. All those are mobile application apps. And that's what I'm saying. That's why they are saying there's an aspect to call visibility. With mobile application, it makes your business to be visible or even you to be visible. Now, that's mobile application development. So, even before we go to the second part, which is all about mobile application development process, one thing we have to realize, and as I said earlier, it's thing which I needed, which is important for you, my students, to be aware, is that mobile apps, all of them, mobile apps are based on object-oriented paradigm. They are based on the object-oriented paradigm. Hence, if they are based on the object-oriented paradigm, then it means there are some few concepts in OOP we need to rediscover. Or you, my students, need to rediscover, because I believe you have done these concepts and I believe you are aware of these concepts. So it is something which you, my students, should be aware of when you are looking at mobile application development, that they begin from the object-oriented programming paradigm. That's what we have with that aspect of object-oriented paradigm. And some of these concepts are things like should be able to remember. Should be able to remember, but I've shared the notes which you can be able, things like objects, classes, inheritance, polymorphism, what else? Polymorphism. We should have things like abstraction. What else? Abstraction. There's abstraction. And there's apart from polymorphism, abstraction, inheritance, encapsulation. encapsulation. There are so many other aspects in OO. All those aspects are found in mobile application programming. They are all intertwined because mobile application development relies on the OOP paradigm. That's why I said that it's important. Now, what is the mobile application development process? What is this process? How do we go about it? Because this is something which we need to know what is this process that we have to look at when we are looking at mobile application development, the process. Now, the process in terms of a developer's opinion, and this is in terms of my opinion, and I'm your lecturer, and this is the opinion I have. I've looked at various development processes that we can use and methodologies. We've looked at Agile. I don't know if you guys have looked at Agile, but Agile is now the in thing that is in use at the moment. And in most cases, most mobile applications that we have today are developed using the Agile development procedure. And Agile basically leads to something we call a collaborative environment. Why? Why do we call it collaborative? Collaborative in the sense that you have several people working on a single application or on a single project, and each one of them has sub-roles within that major application or project. So that's why in most cases, most mobile application, major mobile apps depend on Agile methodology. Tena na hizi apps ndogo ndogo sijui za kufanya sijui nini. No. Leave those apps. There are those major apps which need integration of several functionalities. Like for example, business apps. An app which needs to connect to the internet, an app which can be able to connect to M-Pesa, an app which can be able to connect to a banking network somewhere so that a person can be able to transact. For example, if you look at Google Play Store, that is a major app. And Google Play Store has incorporated several development teams. It's not made up by one person. It's incorporated by several development teams. And each of these development teams has tasks in there which they usually stand in for. So in my opinion, it's based on the Agile methodology. And I believe in your projects, most of you are doing what? In your projects, most of you are, in the projects, currently it's group work. And in group work right now, I believe that in the next project presentations that we're having, I expect that whoever my students will be assigned to, their methodology should be Agile. If it's not Agile, then we are not doing any development there. It is supposed to be Agile, especially in this era of COVID. Agile methodology is on the rise because of that aspect of collaboration. It leads to collaboration. It's Agile, meaning that it's flexible. That's why it's called Agile. It's flexible. It's not static like waterfall. Most of you run to waterfall, but waterfall is static. Waterfall is static, and believe me when I tell you that waterfall is not a methodology. Waterfall is not a methodology. Waterfall is a process, and a process is, for example, the software development lifecycle. That is a lifecycle. It's a process. Waterfall was borrowed from SDLC. So in either sense, waterfall and SDLC are one in the same, and SDLC is not a methodology. That's one thing we should be very clear of. And in my terms, Agile is the methodology which is used in mobile application, and it ensures that there's fast churning out of mobile apps. That's why you see the rate at which mobile applications are being developed and put out there is much higher than the normal applications that are needed to run on a laptop. And most companies have now realized, or on PCs, and most companies have now realized that they're shifting. Although we have those, they're shifting in the sense that we have an app that can run. Actually, most of the time, these apps run on the network. They run on the internet, on a web service, run on the web service. And this app which is run on the web service can be accessed both from a laptop and both from a mobile application end. So in my opinion, that is why we have Agile methodology. And Agile methodology, because we say that you need to check out these applications quite quickly. Secondly, we need to incorporate several development teams into that aspect of developing a major mobile application. And thirdly, because of web service, the internet has changed the way applications run. Nowadays, we do not have applications which you just go there. I don't know. I think the last time I went and, I went and took a flash or even a disk. Hear me out. A flash or even a disk to install an application. I don't know. I think I did that last in 2015. That is how serious it is. That is how serious it is. My friend, that is how serious it is. Maybe, for example, if maybe I'm reinstalling an operating system, if I'm reinstalling an operating system, then I need to have that OS in a physical format, in a physical form, or a CD, or even a bootable USB. And then all the other apps, even the drivers, you have to connect online to download the drivers for a laptop. And if, for example, like Windows 10 nowadays, Windows 10 comes with, I think, with nearly all drivers for every laptop there is out there. Windows 10 comes up with those drivers. So when you install Windows 10, Windows 10 comes bundled with those drivers. So your work is just to install Windows 10 and blah, you're online, and then now you can go and download your own stuff. That is the same way a mobile phone works. When you buy a mobile phone, it comes already pre-installed with certain applications. Yours is just to activate them. And in my opinion, that they wanted to remove, what we call the correct term is, they wanted to remove the call it correct. They wanted to remove the hindrance that is brought about by installing and reinstalling apps. So that's why they came up with that. So the development process, in my opinion, is Agile methodology. And as I said, because you guys are at home and you will be doing projects, hopefully when you come back, you shall be doing those projects. The methodology I would like to see, if you're developing a mobile application, it is Agile. Msiende kuniambia maneno sijui za nini na nini hapo. Mkianza kuniambia mambo ya waterfall, spiral, I'll tell you, my friend, those are old methodologies. Even me, in my own in my own entirety, I've never used spiral. I've never used V-shaped. I think I've only used prototyping, and I've used RAD, rapid application development, because RAD belongs to websites. Now, Agile is, I think, is a combination of RAD and JAD, because there's rapid and JAD is joined. So Agile methodology. Agile methodology, I employ my students to review Agile methodology. You look at what is Agile methodology, how do we carry out Agile methodology? Because most of the projects which you're going to be running from, which you're going to run, are based on Agile methodology. So that's their mobile application development process, Agile. So whatever Agile says, that is it. Now, with the process, it means that now that's the process. Now that is the methodology which you're going to use. Now the process is, now here's the thing. There's a methodology, the way you're going to do things, and then there's a procedure. The procedure is the normal software development life cycle. If no one has ever told you, but this is the truth, that is the Bible for software developers. If you're going to develop a software, you need to carry out requirements analysis, you need to do out design, you need to do coding, then you need to do testing, and then you need to do implementation, that is rolling out. So what it means is that Agile has encompassed even that process of software development life cycle. So whatever it is that you need to do in SDLC, you'll have to do it while inside Agile methodology. That's where the whole thing comes in. Meaning that if you're developing a mobile application, first of all, you have to do a feasibility study. You have to know, why am I developing this mobile app? Who am I developing it for? And what is it for? Secondly, what are the requirements? Thirdly, requirements should be transited from requirements to design. meaning that whatever the user wants, I should implement it in my design. Fourthly, you code that design. And then after you've coded, that's where the whole thing now will come and see that you have done all that in that aspect. So with this sense is that mobile applications, they have that aspect of trying to, it's basically like you're just developing a normal app, but now it will have to go inside the mobile, inside a mobile phone. So that's why we have that aspect of mobile application. Now, there are things which I've talked about. There's the evolution. In the notes, you look at 1.2, there's something we call evolution of mobile application development. Where in that evolution, we are looking at how mobile application has evolved with time. Okay, we see how mobile applications have started from the low level C or C++, and then we came to the Symbian architecture. You remember Symbian mobile phones, Mulika Mwizi, that architecture, that operating system for Mulika Mwizi is what we call Symbian. And Symbian basically used low level C or C++. And then the biggest advance in mobile development came in the introduction of Java hosted midlets. Java. Now you see from Java hosted midlets, after Symbian, there was a period in time whereby we had mobile phones which could have some kind of applications. Like for example, if you look at Nokia 3310, after Nokia 3310, ile going into a Hogo, that phone which when used to fall down, it used to create a crater. After that Nokia 3310, there was a period in time whereby if you looked at Motorola, there's Motorola Razr. You remember Motorola Razr? The phone which used to flip. There's a phone which used to flip. And then you would find all the applications there. Remember, my dad had a Motorola Razr, and then there was Siemens and everything. And if you looked at those phones, they were based on Symbian, but they were using Java hosted midlets. Okay, these Java hosted midlets were now the precursor to creating of applications that will run on a wide variety of hardware that supports Java runtime. Okay, so you can see we started with Symbian. Symbian ni Mulika Mwizi. Ile mlikuwa mnacheza ile game ya Snake. That is Symbian, Mulika Mwizi, and that was low level C and C++. And then we came now to Motorola Razr, that was Java hosted midlets. And then now we came to Android. And from Android, you remember the first Android phone I've ever seen was this Idios. Was this phone called Idios? Remember, Idios came around 2008. Yeah, it was called Android. I don't know if it's called Android Idios or I don't know, but I remember the name. It was called Idios. That phone. That was the first Android OS phone. Then all these other phones, the Technos, and then Technos came and it sparked a wide revolution. Actually, I think in Africa, Techno, kama ni company imekula pesa Africa vizuri ni Techno, and still people are using Techno. Techno is a very good phone, by the way. Only to Techno is a very good phone, but right now they're in a twist for the market with Huawei. Huawei is also a very good phone. My phone is Huawei, but I prefer. I think of all phones that I've had, Huawei is the one that has like, not Huawei, Samsung. I have a Samsung tablet. That Samsung tablet is 5 years old. A7, I think it's called the A7 tablet. I bought it in 2015, still in existence up to today. Still strong. So as you can see, when you look at this part 1.2, you look at the history. Be able to read about the history and be able to know the Android, the Windows Mobile, and the Apple iPhone. Okay. Now you see there's Android, Windows Mobile, and Apple iPhone. Now you see there's Android. Android is based on Linux. Windows came and decided, okay, we are missing out of the cake, so let's do Windows Mobile. Actually, Windows 10 is based on Windows Mobile architecture. And then there's the Apple's iPhone. Richer, simplified development environment for mobile application. And however, unlike Android, that is Windows Mobile and Apple iPhone, they are built on proprietary operating systems that often prioritize native applications over those created by third parties and restrict applications among application and native data form. That is one thing you have to understand. That's why most applications are found on Android. Many mobile applications that are developed, they usually develop to run on the Android platform rather than run on Windows Mobile or Apple iPhone. I've never had people developing an application that can be used by Apple iPhone. But right now, I think Apple iPhone came and realized that they are missing on it. And that's why, remember, even there's a time whereby Apple iPhone, you could not even run some applications which were found on Play Store. But then they came and found a way of integrating Play Store into Apple iPhone. That's one thing. And even Windows Mobile. Windows Mobile used to go to the Windows Store to download apps. But when you went to the Windows Store, if you look at the store for Windows Mobile and Apple iPhone, you'll find that Android Store has a lot of apps than these two applications combined, these two platforms combined. So that's why these guys came and realized that we are losing money. Even the first Nokia Windows Mobile, which Windows came up with, that phone never did well because most people were coming up with Android. If you look at Android has really good. It is a really good platform. Android is a very good platform which can be able to. It is simple. It is viewable. It is beautiful to use. I would like to say it's beautiful to use. Why would I pay 100,000 to buy an Apple iPhone when that 100,000 I can be able to go and buy a Samsung somewhere, or even a Huawei somewhere, even with a stylus, and be able to get better quality with my money than with an Apple iPhone? Siko baya, chati ni pesa ntuna, but it does not make sense anyway to me. That's my own assessment. Now, the mobile application architecture, if you come to 1.3 of those, there's something called the mobile application architecture. And this is usually structured in such a way in a multi-layered application tier. Now, one thing we have to understand with mobile application is that mobile application provides two types of clients. That is, you have the rich client and the thin client, not fat. Now, some people will say rich and poor client, no, but it's rich and thin. Okay. So what is the difference? So when developing a mobile application, you may choose to develop a thin web-based client or a rich client. If you're building a rich client, the business and data service layers are likely to be located on the device itself. That's one thing, rich client. Business and data services are likely to be located on the device itself. Thin client, the business and data layers will be located on the server. Now, for example, most of the apps you are having, they are based on thin client. Most of the apps you're having, they're based on thin client, meaning that the business and data layers, you are not going to host them on your mobile phone. So you're not a rich client. Okay. So if you're a rich client, if you're developing a rich client mobile application, then it means that the data services are likely to be located on the device itself, but no device can be able to handle such kind of a transaction threshold. So in most cases, you'll have a third-party kind of an application. That's what most applications and businesses do. They give you a site, a web service, a site whereby you can be able to access their servers and business data layers, which are located on a central server somewhere out through a cloud. And you see now, there's that application of now integrating even the cloud in mobile application development. Now, the architecture boils from that diagram, which you're going to have. Let me just screen share. This is the architecture. Where we have the mobile client application. We have the three layers, which actually there are five. There are 5 layers. There is the presentation layer. There's the presentation layer. The presentation layer is actually here. Then there's the business layer. Then there's the data layer. Then you have cross-cutting layer and mobile support. So you see cross-cutting, then mobile support infrastructure. Now, the presentation layer, basically, this is the user interface components, the user interface process component, the presentation layer. This is where the user interacts with the mobile app. And then you have the business layer. The business layer basically contains the process and procedure which the user shall use to do some work on the mobile. That's what you call the business layer. Then you have the data layer. The data layer is basically the access procedures for the data sources found in the mobile support infrastructure. Okay, then you have the cross-cutting, the security configuration, communication, connectivity. And then we have the mobile support infrastructure, the data sources, and the services. We have so many services here, the network services, the activity services, everything. We shall be looking at them when you're looking at the application of this development. So this is the architecture. As I said, these notes I've uploaded them on the site. You'll be able to access them and you'll be able to see the architecture and have a broad understanding and appreciation of the architecture that we're having. We cannot do mobile application development if we do not understand the architecture. What are we developing? Now, in most cases, and here's the truth in matter, in fact. When you're developing a mobile application, in most cases, you shall be developing this mobile application, client. So you'll have to do the presentation layer, you have to do the business layer, you have to do the data access layer. How will you be able to communicate with the server? Then you have to do the security, the configuration, the communication, and connectivity. That's what you'll be mostly developing. Now, for mobile support infrastructure, this is out of our scope. And that's why we are saying that most of the time we develop thin clients. And thin clients is whereby the business and data services are likely to be located are not likely, they are located on a server elsewhere. Your work is just to develop an app, and that app should be able to request a service from the server, pull that request, do whatever it is, and save whatever it is that you did on that server. So that's what we call a thin client, and most of the time we shall be developing thin clients. Now, architecture and design guidelines. Now, this is a very key important. Guidelines what you should consider when designing a mobile application. Remember, I said that when you're developing, in most cases, we say when you're developing a mobile app, we are saying like we are designing, because you have to design it first. Because before even you start coding, you have to design, you have to collect requirements and design it. Now, when you're designing, that's where we have these considerations. These are very key considerations, which you as a developer, you should take into consideration and actually know why you're doing it. Okay. So the first one is you decide if you're going to build a rich client, a thin web client, or rich internet application. Those are the three. Are you doing a rich client? Are you doing a thin web client? Or are you doing a rich internet application? So if your application requires local processing and must work in an occasionally connected scenario, consider designing a rich client. A rich client application will be more complex to install and maintain. If you that's what we do when you're having a rich client. Okay, local processing and must work in an occasionally connected scenario. Consider, so depending on the scenario which you're developing, you might decide to have an application which you install the DBase in your mobile phone. Everything is in your mobile phone, the application in your mobile phone. Now, if your application can depend on a server processing and always be fully connected, consider designing a thin client. That's where most of us run to. We run towards this aspect of developing a thin client. If your application requires a rich user interface, only limited access to local resources, and must be portable to other platforms, then decide to use a rich internet application client, RIA. Okay, a rich user interface, only limited access to local resources, and must be portable to other platforms. So in most cases, most developers either do thin web or rich internet application. So the first thing, which type of client are you going to build? That's the first consideration which you have to look at. So that's what I'm saying. You'll have to look, you have to do a background study, a feasibility study. What type of client are you going to build? Secondly, determine the device types you will support. That's the second thing. This app, where will it run? Okay, when choosing which device types to support, consider screen size. Now you see, this is the thing which comes into consideration. Screen size, resolution, CPU performance, characteristics, memory, storage, development environment, and availability. So you need to consider that. Even they're just boiling. You need to consider that. The screen size, the resolution, CPU performance, characteristics, memory and storage, development, tool environment, availability. In addition, factor in user requirements and organizational constraints. If you're developing it for you've been contracted to develop a mobile app, you have to consider user requirements and organizational constraints. You may require specific hardware such as GPS or a camera, and this may impact not only on your application, but also your device choice. That's true. That is very true. That is so true. So determine the device types you support. For example, I've seen there's this barcode reader. There's this barcode reader. I've never installed barcode reader. I don't know who has ever installed barcode reader. And does that barcode reader work for every type of barcode you'll find out there? No, that's the thing which you'll have to consider. The kinds of things you'll have to consider. And that's why you'll find that most applications, instead of going for the barcode reader, they usually go for the USSD. If it's to confirm some kind of service, they give you a USSD number to dial, and then you follow the prompts, and then you'll be able to confirm what that service. For example, like for my car insurance, from the insurer, I usually get from Pioneer Kenya Insurance. They usually have a USSD code. They have the barcode reader, and then they have the USSD code. But now the thing is, they realize that most people do not have this barcode reader, and this barcode reader should be specific to that organization or client. Actually, that organization. You cannot just have a barcode reader that can read any barcodes anywhere in this world. Even your systems might be very insecure by then. So most of them decided, let's do what? Let's do USSD code. Now, another thing which is really important from the first point and the second point, I would like you to consider the Madaraka Express. I'll give you that. I usually like giving that example because that's a very good example of how mobile application has really come and aided such an initiative. When this Madaraka Express came into being, people used to go all the way to Syokimau. That is in Nairobi. In Mombasa, people used to go all the way to a place called Miritini in Bonje Miritini. And actually, that time when Madaraka Express came, I was in Mombasa. I was working in Mombasa, and I remember it used to be hell to go to that place because there were no roads, first of all. The place was inaccessible. There was no public transport to go there. So how do you go there? In a village of Mombasa, Joto-san. And then you go there, and then you decide to go and book. Imagine you have to go and book a train while you're in Mombasa. You have to pay. First of all, the last time I left there, it was around 150. It was 100, I think 150. I think 100, 150. It was probably 100. Yeah. From town up to Bonje. You pay 100 bob. You go and book a train of 700 shillings. Maybe you're traveling on Saturday. Then you pay another 100 bob to go back to Mombasa town. And then on that day you're traveling, you tena lipe mia. Pande matatu uende tena Bonje, pande train. And then ukitoka kupanda train, ukifika Syokimau, upande tena mia ingine. I think it was 100 bob or 50 bob to come to Nairobi CBD. Now, when you do all that math comes to around, I think, 1,000 or 1,100 or something. And here's what people are saying is that, why should I pay that money? And then I have all these inconveniences of getting to where that train station is, just to board a train to Nairobi. And then at that time, there was that aspect of saying that, remember when the train came, they used to say that it would take you how many hours to travel from Nairobi to Mombasa? 4 hours. I believe it used to be around 4 hours. I think 5.5 hours, because I remember the train used to leave at 7 in the morning. Imagine you have to be there by 7 a.m. 7 in the morning, and then you'll be in Nairobi by 1:36. So 7 up to around 1:36. That is around, actually it was around 6 hours, roughly, give or take. That's the morning train, 6 hours. And people used to say why should I go and do that? And yet naweza panda basi usiku modern, nilipe 1,500 ama 1,600. 1,500 is the business class, 1,600 is the business, 1,600 is the VIP, and then 1,800 is the VVIP. Nikae peke yangu hapo, nilale usiku yote, ni travel by road, nilale siku yote, nisisumbuliwe, nitoke Mombasa 9, nifike Nairobi 6. And you see, Those are the mathematics which I used to do. But okay, sometimes it was really convenient. Let's say, for example, if I travel from Mombasa on Saturday, on Friday in the evening, so I don't have to wait till evening to travel. I can just take the 3 p.m. train. That's when they came. Now, the whole point of this scenario was when this guy started that Madaraka Express, people used to go there and book. And then there was a time, it was during the holidays, people used to hold tickets. People used to hold tickets. You will go and find there a person going, because the train ticket is costing 700. They go and buy a lot of train tickets and then they go and sell at a higher price. Then someone is telling you to travel, you pay 1,500. And then I remember I used to complain, you used to tell them, kindly, first of all, when you're booking that ticket, there was no form of identification. You just used to book a plane ticket, imeandikwa tu jina yako, blah, blah, blah. Haijaandikwa jina, haijaandikwa ID number. So then they came and decided, okay, weke jina na ID number. And then they came and saw that people are complaining of the distance. Then they decided, okay, why don't we put it as it can be accessible anywhere? That's why they came up with this thing we call the USSD, the *639 hash. The *639 hash. Now, what I'm trying to bring about is that these guys went and saw that when they saw that there's a way in which we can be able to reach more clients. And remember, I said that when I was looking at the importance of mobile applications, I said it brings about visibility. Now, you see, with visibility, people can be able to book from the comfort of their homes without causing a lot of ruckus at the station and even inconveniencing security. So that's why I said they decided, let's do a thin web client, and it can be supported by all devices, even Mulikamwizi. You just need to do *639 hash. Now there they determine the type of devices they will support. The fourth one is, there were around 6. The third one was design considering occasional connected limited bandwidth scenarios when required. So you need to know that you're developing a mobile application, meaning that this mobile application will be using a mobile network. Sometimes you have limited bandwidth scenarios when required, okay? And connection issues, okay? So mobile application should handle cases when a network connection is intermittent or not available. That's one thing that should be there. Should handle cases when a network connection is intermittent or not available. It's vital in this case to design your caching, state management, and data access mechanism with intermittent network connectivity in mind. Intermittent means network that is up and down. It's not stable. That's what is called intermittent. Or network that is so down that you cannot even be able to do any kind of work with that kind of network. That is intermittent network. So design considering limited bandwidth. Design a user interface appropriate for mobile devices, taking into account platform constraints. So simpler UI and specific design decision work by the device hardware. This is a constricted hardware. So most of the apps that you're going to work with, they should be able to fit within that screen space provided by the mobile device. So that's why we are saying design a user interface appropriate for mobile devices, take into account platform. Then design a layered architecture appropriate for mobile devices that improves reuse and maintainability. One aspect of OOP is that it caters for reuse and maintainability, code reuse and maintainability. Depending on the application type, multiple layers may be located in the device. Use the concept of layers to maximize separation of concerns and to improve reuse and maintainability. That's why we have these layers: presentation, business, data layer. So you can decide, I code this alone, I code this alone, and I code this alone. So that's where it will bring about reuse. Reuse meaning that I can just change the user interface, but the business layer and data layer remain the same. I've seen so many apps which work in that kind of a scenario. You look at the user interface, it's very different. But when you're looking at the logic behind the operation of that app, it is same with another similar app which you've seen somewhere. And mind you, everything that needs to be developed has already been developed under the sun. So you cannot come and tell me that you're going to develop an app that is already not there. No, I know it is there. But what will make your app be different from whatever app that is outside? there. That's why we are saying design a layered architecture appropriate for mobile devices that improves reuse and maintainability. And then the last one, design considering device resources constraints such as battery life, memory size, and processor speed. That's one thing you have to be very clear. When you're designing, or whatever app you're going to be looking at. Let me put up so this is very important. So you have to consider the battery life, the memory size, and the processor speed. That's why you find that mobile phones usually, this version, there's another better version with higher battery life, higher memory size, higher processing speed. So as to cater for the apps that are there. Like if you go to Play Store, if you're playing a game, you'll find some games which are graphic intensive. They'll find some games which are battery intensive, memory size intensive, and processor speed. So when you're designing that mobile app, if it's a key critical core function mobile app, let's say for a business, that mobile app should not eat the battery life, should not eat the memory size, and should not eat the processor speed. That is true. But if it's game, let it be. But if it's an app for a business, let it be strictly within the set battery, within set parameters that will ensure that the battery life and the memory size do not get used up quite quickly. Now, Android, because you are saying you are going to use Android. Android is an open source Linux-based operating system for mobile phones, such as smartphones and tablets. And it was developed by the Open Handset Alliance led by Google and other companies. Yeah, it was the Google, I think it was Idios, Google. It used to belong to Google, Idios, that phone. Okay. Now we have various versions of Android Studio. The first one was in 2007. Then there are various other versions of Android which can be available. If you go to Android Studio, I believe if you go to Android Studio, just go to Android Studio and then you go to develop, download Android Studio and SDK. Sorry, you can download Android Studio 4 for Windows 64-bit 87. It's big, it's really big. And it brings about this thing, and it has a visual layer editor and everything, APK analyzer, fast emulator and all that, intelligent code editor, real-time professionals. We have that recommended. This one is the recommended one. No ext installer. Let me just check here. Offline components. You have the Gradle plugin. Then you have the Google Maven dependencies to build your project offline. So you can download this, and then you install it. Okay. Now offline components. Now one thing which I would like to, now you see, I would like you to see the system requirements for Android Studio, and that's why Android Studio, I prefer Android Studio because Eclipse is a bit, it's a bit tricky to use. Although I used to have Android Studio, then I uninstalled it, but I'll look for it, I believe it's somewhere here. Minimum Microsoft Windows. Android Studio can only work on 64-bit. Minimum 4 GB RAM. 8 GB RAM is recommended. If your machine is 8 GB, then it will be okay. 2 GB of available disk space minimum, 4 GB recommended. That is 500 MB for IDE plus 1.5 GB for Android SDK and emulator system image. And then 120 by 800 minimum screen resolution. I think my screen resolution is figure. Okay, so those are the minimum requirements. Okay, I know it is tasking, but we shall try and look at how this thing goes by. I've not seen an Android Studio that can be done online. If there was one that we could just go online and do coding there, like for example, if you're looking at Python, you can just go to Kaggle and do your online development there. Then it would have been very easy for us and everything. So one thing I would like you to remember is you download this, the first one. It's 171 MB. You download it. But here's the catch. This thing requires you to be online. It requires you to be online to do to get the Gradle and to get the emulator. Now, that is it. Now, that's why they came and said that they have offline components. That is the Android Gradle plugin and Google Maven dependencies to build your project. This one. See, this one is 2 GB and this is 126 MB. So if you have these two, then it means that you can build your project. You do not need to be connected to the internet to build your project. Building means you test it, whether it is working, and then you can be able to, when you're doing the preview, you can be able to do what in a project, you can be able to play it and see how it works. But then another thing is really funny. There are things like just come here, download, and you come here, look at the user guide. Come here and check the user guide. And user guide, you come and check what it is that these guys are saying. How can you be able to use this app and everything and all that? And even the toolbar, the tool windows, how you can be able to shift some of these things. The Gradle build system this is very good. This Gradle build system, and know how to use it very well. Data file access, sign into your developer account. Actually, this is basically install Android Studio. If you have to install Android Studio, okay, download an exe, follow and zip. Yep. So you can just play these videos and see how they've been able to download and install Android Studio on Windows. Configure the ID. This is a very important aspect to check out these videos. If you're configuring the IDE, check your VM option. There's another actually which is very important. I think this one shall go step by step. Running apps on the Android emulator. There are two ways which you can run Android apps. You can either run on the emulator or you can run it on your mobile phone when you just turn on the USB debugging mode and everything. But we shall go through them once again more and more. So that's what we shall be using. And advantages of Android is that it's open source. It's free for anyone to use. There's no need of you to buy anything. It supports a larger development and outreach community, reduce cost in development. It's open source nature of the language, rich development environment, and supports inter-application or integration. So features are like no licensing, Wi-Fi access, GSM, comprehensive, full multimedia APIs, IPC, shared data storage. It has all these features. All these features are basically what has made Android to be the #1 mobile application platform in the world. Okay, so this one I've talked about the setup. It's basically what we have seen there. And in the setup, what I would like you with the setup is that the first thing I would like you to do is when you're on this path, we come and we look at how to install Android Studio. We can then after that you can come and see how to manage your projects, and then how to write your app. Step by step we shall be doing, and then how to build and run your app. These are things which are really important, especially when you're creating these emulators, because these emulators, when you're downloading this app is very funny. Sometimes you can do this and then you choose a platform for an emulator. You know, an emulator, basically what they look at the OS, the Android OS. And then after they've looked at the Android OS, then they try and see how good it can be able to run on that platform. For example, like right now, my phone is the platform on my phone. I believe it's an old platform. It's an old platform. Mine is Android version 8, I know people say wameenda mbali. If you go to this Android, you'll find all those versions there. Mine is Android version 8. Now, this Android emulator depends on the Android version. Depends on the Android version. You'll go and find 2 point something, you'll go and find Jelly Bean. Now, what usually happens is that when you're a developer, you usually check for the middle kind of application, but not that middle sana. For example, the latest Android, I think is, I left it to, I don't know if it's 11 or, I'm not sure, but there's that latest Android. So most developers, what they do, they usually develop an application that can be run up to the cut-hold threshold for Android application. And I think the cut-hold threshold for Android application is Android 7 right now, the Nougat. That's the cut-hold threshold, meaning that any app that runs below Android 7, that is a legacy app. It is virtually a legacy app. It does not do anything. So what most people do is they usually check for Android 7. Now, an app on Android, which is made using Android version 7, can run even on, can it run? There must be a way in which it can be able to run. But the usually ways in which you see apps are usually updated all the time. That's why when you go to, when you're having your app, every time it will tell you update this, update that. So I believe that one we shall do it very well next time. And here I have revision questions, which you can be able to go and look at. Then you have the Android architecture. And this is the Android architecture, basically the application layer, the application framework, the libraries, the Linux kernel, the Linux system, how that Android architecture is, and that's why it is actually in use today. And the functions of each of those layers. The Linux, I believe you guys have looked at the Linux operating system. Now this is the Linux system architecture. Android is based on the Linux system architecture. So basically everything that is Android is based on Linux. And that's why you're looking at the Linux system architecture. And then the following application services are the architectural cornerstones of all Android applications: the activity, the views, notification, content providers, and resource managers, and Android libraries. Now, another thing that is really important. Another thing that is really important. Another thing that is really important are these APIs. The APIs, the Android graphics and everything like that. And then the Android runtime and application framework, the Dalvik virtual machine. One thing I'd like you to do when you get these notes, kindly look at the function of this. This is really important. The Dalvik virtual machine, that's a really important aspect which you need to know. It's like a virtual machine which is used to run these applications. Okay, so instead of it running on the virtual services which are provided by a mobile network architecture, they are run using the Dalvik virtual machine. Then you have application components, as I said. We have application, activity services, broadcast receivers, and content providers. Then we shall look at developing a fast Android application and everything. But before we go there to all these, I believe the first thing would be for you, my students, to download that Android Studio app, so that by the next class that we shall be looking at, we shall be having those aspects that we need. So that is my view for the day, which you'll be able to view this thing tomorrow early in the morning. So in case you have any question, I believe you know there's a platform with which you can post it and you tell me if there is any problem that you might have encountered. So far, I believe that will be good. So you can be able to check all of that and be able to see all of that. So thank you for your time. And we shall meet next week. So thank you.